Lego Movie 2, the second part, is the sequel to the first Lego movie, and it has all the same cast: Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Alison Brie, Will Arnett, a whole bunch of others, and continues on from where the last film left off. A new kind of more kid-friendly Lego invades Bricksburg and leaves it as a kind of Mad Max style apocalyptic wasteland called Apocalypseburg. All the characters have become much more hardened by this, except for Emmet, who remains as cheerful as ever. But when the rest of the characters are captured and taken away by an alien force, Emmet must learn to be more serious so that he can save them. Meanwhile, a captured Lucy tries to figure out what the enemy's plans are and escape with her brainwashed friends. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Lego movie. A lot of the jokes seem to be based on the idea of, oh, isn't it funny because they're Legos and you don't normally see Legos doing things like this. Car chases and fights and explosions and all that kind of thing. The humour for me wore off very quickly. There were other funny things in it, but it just didn't really connect with me as much as it seems to have done with other people, seeing as how big a hit that film was. I thought that the Lego Batman movie was really funny, but that the sentimental scenes were far too soppy and over the top, and that really brought the film down for me. I think that it should have stayed as a straight up comedy instead of trying to be all about family and forming a family with people you've only known for like 2 days. So I had low-ish expectations for this, but I thought at the very least I might get some good laughs out of it. But I actually liked this one a lot more than the first one. I thought it was really funny and I connected more with the story and the plot, and it built off the concepts that were set up at the end of the last Lego movie in really interesting ways. See, I thought that the best part of the original Lego movie was the revelation of how the characters existed. How it was all kind of the imagination of the human characters, like Will Ferrell's son, and I thought that it added an extra level of meaning to the story. And because we know that going into this film, it becomes much more of a mystery where you're trying to figure out how all this is playing out in the real world with the humans and how all the different elements of the story translates basically to children at play. I liked that a lot, and I liked how it gave me more to think about as I was watching the film. But it still keeps it kind of ambiguous whether or not they are actually alive, because there are hints and different things that strain believability if they are just lifeless toys. And the film is very funny. It uses the Mel Brooks style of comedy where there are so many jokes and one coming every few seconds, where if one doesn't really land, there'll be another one along soon that you probably will laugh at. It's just a constant barrage of different kinds of jokes. Some are obvious and some are more subtle. So I'm pretty sure that I will have to watch the film a few more times to take them all in. There's a lot of satire based around action films and the different genre tropes that are associated with them. It'll have characters being very self-aware about what's expected of them because of the kind of character they are, and will often actually refer to the audience as being the reason that things are happening. One of the best ones is the way that Batman has lost all the people and connections that he made in his solo movie, and he says that it's because that's what the audience expects of him, to be a loner. There's also this song that the villain sings about how she's definitely not a bad guy, which is kind of poking fun at how the sort of recent trend of action movies is to always have a surprise twist reveal villain in the third act, like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, Iron Man 3, Captain America The Winter Soldier, most of the Mission Impossible franchise, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Wonder Woman, and on and on. The whole thing seemed very similar to the sort of Deadpool style of comedy, but much more kid friendly, and it also makes fun of the dark gritty movies trend as well as the Marvel and DC franchises. When Emmet flies off to try and find his friends, he runs into a new character called Rex Dangervest, who seems to be a kind of send-up of the kind of roles that Chris Pratt has become known for in recent years, because he's voiced by Pratt as well. And although he was very funny, and I understand what the point of the Rex Dangervest character was in the context of this story, I thought that as a Chris Pratt parody, it only really had the surface elements, like how he's a raptor trainer and a space explorer, and he used to be fat, but now that he's lost the fat, he's really chiseled. He doesn't actually resemble how Chris Pratt acts in those films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World. And he comes across more like a Kurt Russell character, you know, like an 80s Kurt Russell character. There's a lot of social commentary in this film about women in hero roles in films, and that's mostly focused on the Lucy character, played by Elizabeth Banks. Now, she's probably much more capable as an action hero than Emmet, but he's the one who's still considered to be the hero, which does make fun of hero narratives, but it doesn't really seem to understand why hero narratives, especially in films, are so effective. There's also a pretty funny gag about Rex Dangerfest having these raptors and what he names his 3 raptors. He keeps calling them Ripley and Connor and the other one, like he can't remember the last one's name. Like how when we think of female action heroes, we automatically think of Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in the Alien franchise and Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise, and then we usually struggle to try and think of a third one. At least that's what I thought the point of it was. It is funny and kind of true, but just because those 2 are the most memorable doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of really good female action heroes in films. Chris Pratt is really fun. This goofy stuff is what he does best, and Elizabeth Banks is also very good, although she's sometimes a wee bit over the top, but never too far. Will Arnett is still great as Batman, and he has a lot of great character moments and references to Batman lore, kind of like the ones in the Lego Batman movie. But I am kind of worried that he is going to wreck his vocal cords talking like that so much. Sometimes he did sound a bit strained, and I would really hate anything to happen to him, so there won't be another season of BoJack Horseman. Alison Brie is really funny until she has to do an angry voice, and then it doesn't really work. I thought that they could have done a better job with the villain. She's played by Tiffany Haddish. I think they were trying to make her funny, but she isn't at all. With the nature of her character and her character's design, how she can kind of morph into anything, it seems like a real missed opportunity for some good comedy. A problem that I did have was that I didn't recognize the invading toys that weren't Legos, so I was worried that I might have missed some of the jokes. I looked it up afterwards and it said that it was a different kind of Lego, which was focused on being more kid-friendly, called Lego Duplo, which I am not at all familiar with, but it wasn't a big problem. They were still funny. I liked that there were a lot of references to other movies and that they were used in actual jokes instead of being lazy about it. There's a few bizarre and hilarious Bruce Willis moments in this film, which I laughed really hard at, and it is kind of like the best performance I've seen Bruce Willis give in a while. I know that this is a kids film and you have to keep it light because it's rated U, but I thought that the relationship between Emmet and Lucy was weirdly sexless. They never kiss or hold hands, and at the end they refer to each other as my special friend, and not at all in a euphemistic kind of way. It was kind of strange. I'm pretty sure that you can have kissing in a U-rated film, especially if it's 2 toys doing it. It would have just made it feel a bit more human and realistic to have a bit of romance, because according to this, they've been together for like 5 years. It's not doing as well as the first Lego movie, which I don't understand. I suppose that people aren't as wowed by the Lego concept after 3 movies, but a funny film is a funny film, and really good ones are few and far between, and this is a good one, so people should check it out. I liked the message in this film more than the first. The message in that was how everyone is special, which is okay. I mean, there are a lot of other meanings that can be taken away from the first film, but that seems to be the most obvious in the text of the film. This one is more about retaining innocence and imagination while growing up, and how some personality traits are deemed to be more valuable than others, which touches on everyday themes like avoiding conflict by making peace and working together to make a better world. And those are good messages for a kids film, which I like. The music is annoyingly catchy, but it's much more upfront about its intention to be so than the first movie even was. There's a song in this called Catchy Song, and it is catchy. I give the Lego Movie 2 a B. I thought it was better than the first film in comedy and story, and I'm actually really looking forward to see what they do with the Lego concept next. I definitely recommend this film because you'll enjoy it, but I also think that it's important to support films that can be enjoyed by both very young kids and grown adults. And I think that it sends an important message that children's content doesn't need to be mindless and basic, even if it is something as cash grab sounding and product placement-ish as the Lego movies. Thank you very much for watching my review. Please like and subscribe. It costs you nothing and it really helps me out. Please comment down below and let me know if you've seen the second Lego movie, what you thought of it, if you liked it or disliked it, if you agree with any of my comments or disagree, or if you have any comments of your own. And let me know what film or comic book or other intellectual property would you like to see them turn into Lego next. I'll be back soon with more reviews, and I'll see you then.